Streaming live around the world, this is Paper Cuts.
No! God, please, no! No!
With Brad and Jay.
We need like some name tags with our picture on it, all laminated and whatnot. I mean, we gotta look legit, man.
You sound insane. Do you realize that?
We are live. Right, here we go, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Paper Cuts, the show that's taking the world by storm, or at least grabbing the world by the balls or doing something with it. I don't know.
I don't know, Jay.
My name is Jay. Yes, my name is Jay. Thanks so much for joining me. With me, 75% of the time.
This guy,
right?
Yeah,
you guys know him from the channel Brad Proctor. That's the real Brad Proctor over there, guys.
That's the real deal. The real Brad Proctor. Stand up.
Yeah, Brad. I had a late night last night.
I heard you had a little shindig last night.
I got interviewed. Me of this duo show.
It shows who the real champ is, right? No one cares about this guy over here. It's all about. I can't even point the right way. It's all about this guy.
I know. So why are we doing a show on a Saturday afternoon, 1 p.m. for us?
We can ask Ross. Ross is here. We can ask him why we're doing this.
Exactly. I think we're going to journey to the other side of the world. I don't even think they're even on the other side of the world. That would be like, I don't even know what country's on the other side of the world from us, but
China, I think.
Is it?
I don't know.
Is it?
Sounds good.
I'm so bad. I need to get a map like right here. So let's welcome our guest. He's the writer of, I'm going to say a lot of books.
A bunch of books. Lots of books.
I think I've read them all except for one.
You're slacking, Jay.
I
slacking. I've read.
Picking things up.
I've read almost one. I've almost read this one completely.
Dude, you're embarrassing.
That's good. That's more than like 98% of the world's population.
Let's see. We have Warding. I think that's the first one I read. Curfew. Cinders of a Blind Man Who Could See. That's a
cool title.
That's a big title. That's the only one I've not read yet. I have it. I've not read it yet.
It's too many words for you to do that one. You can't read that one.
I don't really read. The Balance. And then he has a short story collection, Paths Best Left Untrodden. And then the newly released Below.
Well, that title, the Keelan Patrick Burke title.
Yeah, he's taking a little break right now from running. He's not running right now. I keep track of his running on Instagram. Show off. Everyone,
I'll help you and stuff.
Yeah.
Hello.
Kev Harrison.
What's up, Kev?
The hell are you?
I'm very good. Thank you, guys. I've got here a coconut and coffee porter to accompany me on the show.
Nice.
It's the evening here, so I'm not just like a morning drinker or anything.
He's not just plastered at 10 a.m.
Yeah, exactly.
It's almost tomorrow there.
But thank you so much for having me on the show, guys. It's an honor to be here.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on, man.
And you'll be getting your bill soon in the mail.
Very good. 28 days for payments.
So what's going on? This is a pretty big week for you. You have a new release this week.
Yes, it's a very exciting time. This book, I sent it off to Silver Shamrock when I finished it, the final version of it in about the middle to the end of 2019. And then, these things take time. And
right.
Eventually Ken came back to me, said he liked it. Then we went through the edit process, and here, finally, it is out
this was
in the world.
Done back in 2019.
I mean, it was written in 2018. Then it went to beta readers in early 2019. They read it and said, "Kev, what are you on about? This is garbage. Change this." And so I changed lots of things. And then
did you keep the title? It's the same title. Just changed everything else.
Exactly.
Nice. Wow. Was that 3 years to release a book?
Yeah, it's a long old process. That's why I'm a bit worried, because I don't have anything else sold yet. So I need to get my skates on, metaphorically.
So Brad, get off my back about mine, okay?
Oh,
I got time.
I'll leave you alone.
Got time, man.
Kev,
you're only 57. You got a while to go.
Yeah, really. You're a man of many travels. You're in the UK right now, right?
That's right. Yeah, I'm working in a university for the summer. That's not where I live normally. It's where I'm from. I grew up in the UK, lived here for like 30 years, and then went, why do I live here? This is terrible. And left. But I still come back like every 2 years or so. I come back for the summer to do some university work because it's really fun. It's really challenging and interesting. And pays really well.
Ross is in the chat there. He's sort of get pissed at you calling his home
Below's off the chain. Yeah. So when you say university, what actual age group are you talking about teaching?
I teach postgraduate students. So basically what it is, they come from like all different countries all over the world. So like China, Thailand, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and they want to study a postgraduate qualifications like a PhD or a master's in the UK. and they need to get their English from like being just very good, like general English, into being like academic English. So I just make them suffer for 8 to 9 weeks, and then they do an exam, and hopefully they pass, and everyone's happy.
So do you hand out your book to each student and say, read this, give me a book report, and we'll get an A?
I mean, I don't think actually, like, because like they're from countries where horror is really like not in the mainstream. I think they would all like ask to move classes if they read any of my stuff.
My teacher's crazy, guys.
Exactly. You have a chance to teach them right now. Teach them. We were talking to Mitch Seaborn, and I think we asked him the exact same thing. You know, teach them your stuff. That's a few more sales.
I think
he teaches like what elementary school? I think was that middle school?
Oh my God.
School? No, it was high school. I'm sorry, it was high school.
They can learn about horror.
It's not like
early.
pushing horror to 9-year-olds, like my dad when I was 9.
Yeah. So what was it about the UK that made you want to leave, though? What?
Probably the horrible weather, right?
Yeah, I mean the weather definitely doesn't help. Like because I get this thing called SAD, like which is a seasonal affective disorder, and like it's where you don't get like sunlight and you kind of feel really crap. And like the problem over here is like it's not like in some countries where it's like crappy winter, but the summer's really nice. It's like no, it's kind of grey, like 290 days a year.
That's how I'm picturing it, really.
Yeah,
all
just grey. Like you could make a black and white film in England, no one would even know it was in black and white.
Nice. So I mean, does Portugal have a better nightlife then?
Yeah, definitely so. Especially like during the summer, it's just so warm, so sunny. Also, you have like the ocean everywhere because it's like a tiny country. Portugal, it's like kind of a little stick of a country with like ocean all the way around it. So it's really good in that way. Also, though, like another thing about England that I really didn't like is that it's quite a fighty culture. So like when everyone has like a few beers, and I like beer myself, but everyone goes out, has a few beers on a weekend, and then they start like just scrapping in the streets, and it's just really tiresome and not very good when you're a very small person like me and you can't defend yourself.
They fight over the soccer clubs.
I was gonna bring up soccer. Yeah, scrappy.
I guess football clubs. I'm sorry, not soccer.
Yeah, no, I'm a big football fan, but I've never felt the need to sort of beat anyone's head in because of football. It's just a very strange idea.
Brad, we were just showing our sport ignorance. That's all.
Yeah. So Portugal's right next to Spain, correct?
Exactly. It used to belong to Spain. Don't tell Portuguese people that because they get very upset. But yeah, it was actually it was taken over by Spain for a few years. We still celebrate the Independence Day from Spain on the 10th of December every year. Like, yes, no longer will I be part of Spain. So it's quite a different culture though. It's like I think because the water's cold, like it has an effect on like, people are a bit more sort of miserable and like melancholic, which means I fit in really well.
Is the food there awesome?
Our food is killer, yeah, especially seafood and like cheese and wine is like unbelievable. So yeah, it's very good.
So what's the main language then?
It is Portuguese. So like probably if you look at Portuguese on the internet, you'll normally find Brazilian Portuguese, which is really different in terms of pronunciation. Like if you think about the differences between American English and British English, it's about doubly as different as that. Like some different grammar and stuff. Yeah.
So how many different languages can you speak fluently then?
I mean, fluently. Pretty good
having
English.
To think that it's more than one.
I know, really.
Portuguese, Polish, because I lived in Poland for 3 years, and I can understand French really well, but I can't speak it anymore. I used to be able to speak it really well, but now I can like read it. But when I try and speak it, I just sound like a toddler.
Yeah, I struggle. I struggle with one. So, shout out.
I know.
Are you considered a celebrity in Portugal?
Definitely not, no. Although actually last week I got someone write me an email, which is really weird. And it was like a guy who said like, hey, I was looking at the catalogue of Silver Shamrock the other day, and I saw that you're like a Lisboeta writing for Silver Shamrock. This is amazing. And I was like, I'm not actually from Portugal. I'm actually from England. But then we had a little chat. It was quite nice.
That's pretty cool.
You got him going down the street, popping his collar, sunglasses. That's right. That's right. Big stuff.
Before I lose it, we've got one question already, probably about below. Priscilla asked, have you ever been inside of mine or are you claustrophobic?
This is a weird one, actually, because I had a period of time where I became claustrophobic, and it was really weird. It was like when I was working in West London in about mid-2000s, like the noughties, mid-noughties, there was this big bomb attack in London. Which was really horrible. Like lots of people died in the centre of London. It was on the metro system, and I was on the metro that day, but I was quite far from where it happened. I was at the other end. But like after that, for a few weeks, when it was when the trains were going to the tunnel, I had like some real sort of close to panic attacks, actually, just like real stress related to being sort of in the underground system because of this consciousness of like this thing had happened recently, and I was going through sort of similar places where that happened. So that was my only ever sort of wrestling with claustrophobia, and it kind of wore off after a few weeks once things normalized. In terms of mines, I actually went to a mine when I lived in Poland because I had a one-to-one student who was a mining project manager for a really big company. And so like every week he would like come to me and go like, hey, I've got to do a presentation about this mining thing. Can I give you the presentation in English? And you tell me if I made mistakes and stuff. So I'll do that. And at the end of the year, he was like, do you want to come and see the mine? And I said, sure, why not? So we went there and it was really amazing experience. It was a coal mine, not a gold mine. But like when we got there, this is a really funny thing because we arrived and he goes, here's some overalls, like coverall things, and a hat. And he said, now you have to take your clothes off. And I was like, me how? I mean, I just don't feel that way about you, you know. And he kind of said like, no. It's just that like when you get down there, it's really bloody hot. So if you're wearing any clothes underneath the overalls, you'll just be like sweat soaked kind of freak. So yeah, I had to like strip down to my boxers, then put the overalls on, and then we went down there, and it was a really interesting experience. Like the darkness and the pressure and the heat was the thing that really surprised me because the darkness is kind of
hotter
like
down there, right?
Yeah, much hotter. Like it was about a kilometer down or something like that. It was the biggest one in Poland. It was in my district where I lived, like my province. And it was the biggest one there. So like went about a kilometer down. So that's about 60% of a mile down. So a long way down. And the pressure is like really builds up. And so the heat like gets really oppressive. Really, really weird, like kind of quite humid as well. And then, and the weirdest thing was the darkness because like the lights kind of go like this, and then they kind of just die. Like the light just kind of dies. Yeah, it's so bizarre. Have you guys ever been in that kind of situation in a mine at all?
No,
I've never been in a mine.
Listening to you.
I've been to Mammoth Cave is here in Kentucky. I think it's the biggest cave system in America. I think.
Wow.
I haven't been to like, I'm claustrophobic, so I don't do the squeeze through the little hole parts, but like the big open chambers, I'm cool with.
Yeah.
But it was all lit up and stuff, so it wasn't like we were in pitch black or. You know, they had all the lights in the ceilings for the tourists and whatnot. Gotcha. It's really cool. It is a very otherworldly experience to be under the ground like that, though.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, I love cave systems. I love it. But
so
again,
I went down to a cavern. It's a ways down. We have a special park up here that has a nice cavern to go down, and it was chilly. It was kind of cold down there. That's why I was confused with mines being so much hotter. Because I think they were telling us that it stays around, I don't know what this is.
It's supposed to be like 50
Celsius,
degrees or something.
Yeah,
like
it's around 50 degrees. So that's why
like room temperature kind of thing. Yeah.
So
I wonder if it's different being a cave and a mine, though, if that has any difference.
Right.
No idea. I mean, I've been to a few cave systems, but they've always been like sort of around like surface level, you know, so like either on the surface, like bored into a mountain, or like just a little bit below, like nothing like as deep as the mine. So I really don't know.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. The mine would be a lot deeper than just, you know, a cave you'd be going into.
Yeah.
This was only, I don't know how deep down it is. I think like a total of 100 steps because the way they had it set up. So
Juan down here said he went to a mine in Mexico and he couldn't even breathe.
Interesting.
I mean, just thinking about that makes me freak out. I know how enclosed it is. I've watched like, you know, documentaries on mining and all that stuff. And I mean, they come out of there just totally full of soot and stuff and just sweating like crazy. And
it's just not a nice experience, I don't think. Even like
that
modern
itself
conditions.
is a horror to me.
Yeah, exactly.
So did you do a lot of research like on mining and stuff? Because it takes place in present day, but the sort of disaster was in the 50s. Did you do mining research for this?
A little bit of that, yeah. And more of the research was around like how they would support a mine that was partially collapsing in the modern day. And so that was where I kind of like emailed this guy from Poland and said like, hey, can you tell me about these hydraulic support thingies that I've read about? And like, you know, how would you work them? And another thing that was in there actually, which is where there's a bit where they use flares. And then I thought, what if flares would be a terrible thing and like blow everyone up and kill everyone? So I said to him, like, you know, can you use flares? And he said, like, you can use flares, but they have to be, it depends on the conditions of the mine, depends on like gas escapes and things like suspected gas escapes. And also like they would have to be limited in number so they don't like sort of one catching to another and like blow everybody up.
Yeah. the mine or the flare scene reminded me of the movie Descent for some reason, like just that visual cue and it went off, like everything bathed in red. That's a cool scene.
When that scene happened, I was wondering, if there's going to be more of an explosion because of the gases in some of these mines, but
it would have been gold mine. I think it's more sort of gold and silver in the walls. So
it was more of a coal one.
Exactly,
would have been blown up. So
exactly.
Yeah, we're like making things about a story right now. Like I'm telling him, if it was a coal mine, it would have blown up. He's the one that wrote it.
And also, it takes place in around San Francisco, or at least out past.
Yeah, it's sort of like out in the sort of mountainous areas there. I mean, there's no mine in that place. There are mines like in the neighborhood, but I just picked a place where there hadn't been one, but where there was like nothing there basically. So I thought it would be a good sort of ripe setting for, because that isolation. I wanted the isolation to be in the ground, but I also wanted there to be isolation beyond the mine itself as well, like sort of the local area being quite desolate too.
Have you ever been to America in that area at all?
I've only been to America once, and like this is the cheesiest thing ever, but I went to an island in Florida. Not like Key West. It was like some other island, like San Marco or something. I don't know. When I was about 16, one of my friend's mums was a flight attendant, and she said, "Would you like to come to America for a month with your friend?" And I was like, "Yes, I bloody would." And so we just went there and stayed on the beach, but we just did beach things and played beach football and swam.
Brad, he left the UK. He doesn't want to come to America. Okay, he went to a nice place.
That's true. At least it's not always gloomy here all the time.
Right. There's some places where you that have sunshine.
I would love to see more of America, especially your national parks. That is on my to-do list for life. I would love to come and see those things.
Yeah, I really want to go to Yellowstone. I've never been, but I'd like to go out to Yellowstone and stuff.
Wouldn't it? Yeah.
So that is cool. You did the mine, the claustrophobic there, and then the isolation out in sort of the desert. That's pretty cool.
Just
I like
a side note, this is not a spoiler, but you ruined beef jerky for me. Just so you know, it's just, we were talking before we went live here that you kind of ruined beef jerky for me.
Yes. Next time you eat beef jerky, just ask yourself.
There's not going to be a next time now.
Is it really beef?
I am questioning where it's coming from. Now.
Beef jerky.
Exactly.
It's the mystery meat jerky.
Yeah. There's a reason why it's salty now.
Meat is meat, says James Fetcher. Quite right, James. Quite right. If you're desperate, that's how it is.
You got to do what you got to do.
Exactly.
So you sort of pulled in some, that was giving, I guess, some folklore myth kind of things into this a little bit. You would talk about that at all without trying to give too much away, like what your inspiration was for pulling. What these claws might be on the cover in there.
He's a master of the folklore stuff.
He is master folklore.
If you read the balance, you'll see that.
I mean,
and there's a few short stories in Pat's Left Untrodden too. You'll see that he's the master of folklore. So
I mean, I wouldn't say master, but thank you very much.
Hey, I'm saying it for you.
You can say it, but that's okay. But yeah, I wanted to be non-specific about what it is. I wanted there to be questions about both in the mind of the antagonist himself, the grandfather character, and I wanted there to be questions for the protagonists, who are living through the sort of conflict with it. I remember reading a few years ago. I don't know if you guys have read this book by a guy called Andy Davidson called In the Valley of the Sun.
I have not. I've read Bowman's Daughter, which was amazing.
Oh, I haven't read that. I'm sure that is amazing.
So good.
Yeah, In the Valley of the Sun is similarly just so good. And I heard him talking about it, and he was saying I wanted to write a vampire book, but I didn't want to use the V word. And he does this tremendous job of it obviously is a vampire, and it kind of builds up this amazing sort of folklore that's slightly off kilter from the what we consider traditional folklore perhaps, but certainly a lot of elements got sort of carried over. But he never mentions that word, and it just I thought this is a really nice way to deal with it. I think it is. Yeah, I think
somewhere in the American South. Yeah, I've got it over there somewhere.
Utterly brilliant.
His writing is, his writing is amazing.
Phenomenal. Yeah, such a nice chap as well, which is amazing. It's kind of why can't you at least be horrible if you're that talented?
So there's something that draws you to folklore because, like I said, it's sort of in this and it's really heavy in the balance and some of your other stories. Is there just something about folklore and creatures and mythology that you really enjoy?
I think folklore is where horror comes from. Because I think folklore is so many of our stories in folklore were and in the forest there was a thing that will eat you, so don't go in the forest.
It seems like it's you could just do it unintentionally. You just start out with a story and just automatically folklore is connected somehow.
Yeah, I mean it definitely comes sort of quite naturally to me. And I think that's also partly to do with like traveling a lot and things. So when I travel, I'm really interested in stories like from those places, like the old tales, as it were. Like I remember going out to Croatia a couple of years ago, and there was a completely bonkers like sort of festival happening in this really small town when I was driving past in the bus. So I just thought, I'm just going to get off the bus and find out what's going on. So I went over there and sort of spoke to these people and was like, yeah, what's going on here? And they're like, oh, this is when we conquered this dragon. And I was like, dragon, you say?
Nice.
And it was actually like all symbolic of when they basically turned back the oncoming Ottoman Empire in the Middle Ages, but it was all symbolized by dragons and stuff. So it was really cool, and I just I really thrive on that kind of thing, and I always want to find out about that type of stuff when I go places away from home.
Yeah, like you said, past best left untrodden, sort of off the beaten path. That's where you always find the cool stuff.
Exactly, man. Exactly. Yeah, for sure.
There's a couple of short stories in that I felt the folklore come through also with Untrodden. So. Yeah, I think it's going to follow you throughout your career, basically.
Definitely, like the solstice, like that was that actually the stuff in that kind of happens still. Like, I mean, obviously, like not the shadow creatures eating people, but like
it's your spin on it. So
exactly.
Yeah. You have a favorite like folklore creature or something from mythology? I know you did the balances with Baba Yaga.
Yeah.
Baba Yaga.
Baba
Yaga's cool.
She's great. Oh man. Actually, I did like a giveaway a while ago for the balance, and this guy, oh my god, I've forgotten his name. How rude. Edward somebody. He won the giveaway by choosing his favorite folklore, and he chose the black shuck. Do you guys know the black shuck?
I do not.
I've heard it. What?
It's like a massive black dog that kind of mates with Satan, probably. It's got red eyes, and like there's a church in East Anglia in the UK where you can go, and like apparently the black shuck kind of went there and tried to kill everyone, and they sheltered in the church, and it didn't. The black shuck didn't manage to kill them, but like in the doors there are actually these claw marks, like actually in the wooden doors still now. Right. You can see them.
Oh yeah.
And like these are supposedly from these claws of this sort of like demonic hound, which is pretty cool. So that's one of my favorites. Yeah.
You said you've been to Poland or lived in Poland. Poland has a lot of cool folklore and stuff too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, the balance is taking place. What
is that in Poland?
Right. Yeah.
That is in Poland in the Cold War, exactly. Yeah. But I mean, the Baba Yaga sort of myth is all over Slavic sort of countries. So, like, I know someone from Ukraine who actually met a Baba Yaga when she was a kid because she was having like nightmares or something, and her family tried to deal with it at home. And then when they couldn't deal with it at home because they lived in quite a rural place, they were like, "We're off to see the Baba Yaga," and they put like a metal bowl over her head, and like this woman like chanted stuff while she poured like water over the bowl. And then she said like, yeah, she's going to be fine now. And then she went home and stopped having nightmares, but she doesn't think it's related to the water.
Like all that stuff is just completely fascinating to me. Like all these little rituals and spells and stuff like that tie into it.
Is all of this like written down somewhere so someone could just like totally study this and really like?
It must be. I mean, some of this stuff must be documented somewhere. Yeah. But I mean, I find it fascinating. I don't believe in it, like, but I just think it's so fascinating.
It's fascinating to see that other people believe in it.
Yes.
like truly hardcore believe in that stuff. It's what's really
taking your like small child, like to be treated by this person. It's just bonkers, isn't it? Like really crazy. But yeah,
it's kind of like going to the witch doctor and stuff like that. Just
absolutely.
I could watch documentaries on that one time. Yeah,
me too.
I like Baba Yaga. I like her walking hut with the chicken legs. That's just wild.
It really is absolutely bonkers. Yeah.
Let's hop over to your short story collection for a second. What's the timeline for Untrodden as far as the stories being written?
I think
because there's like four new ones and 4 that you've done before. Is that what I read?
Three new ones, and I think it's 10 that have been previously published. The first story, the earliest story in there, I think, is the one about the girl with the interesting profession.
Yes,
called, the Fourth Wall. That was written in 2017.
That was some research you had to do, right? Is that what you're telling people? Your search history.
I put author notes in the book, Jay. I put author notes in there. I know someone that worked.
I know. I'm just saying, for those who have not read it yet.
That was the only research I did. I spoke to my friend who had done that.
That's when you leave the little note behind to your friends. Hey, if something happens to me, go clear my search engine on my computer.
Very true, very true. But yeah, that's probably the earliest one. So that was 2017, and then the most recent one I wrote in like the mid to late 2020. So yeah, about a 3.5 year span. Yeah.
So is it easier for you to write a short story as compared to like a novella or novel, or do you have a preference for either one?
Definitely easier to write shorts, because like when I started writing seriously, Michael David Wilson from This Is Horror said to me, do you want to join me and some other people doing this thing called the Story a Week Challenge? And I said, like, what does that involve? And he said, basically you write a story a week for a whole year. And I said, that sounds absolutely ridiculous. Let's do that. So we did it. And I failed the challenge, but I ended up with 39 shorts and about 60% of the balance. So it was kind of like my best fail ever. And it was really, really good experience to sort of get into like the mechanics of short stories. Like, I wrote some really crap ones, but those were like really good learning experiences. Like, okay, this is why this went wrong. And so it was really, really useful for the future. So I definitely find shorts easier. And when I'm writing longer forms, I always go back and write a few shorts like during the process, just to keep me fresh, because otherwise I get really like stuck in the mire of the middle part of the sticky middle of the novel or the novella.
I remember coming across, I think it was Snap. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
In like an older anthology. I forget which one it was though, but
that was the Corpus Press. Creatures of the Night. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, one of the Creatures of the Night anthologies. Yeah, I remember coming across Snap, because I as soon as I saw it in Untrodden, I was like, oh, wait, I've read this one before. I read it. And it took me a while to figure out where, but yeah.
Priscilla's joking. Maybe you can write a novella a month for next year.
Oh my God. Michael David Wilson suggested that to me about 2 weeks ago. And I was like, please just go away.
Well, these short stories actually hit a few different genres. I got a little bit of a sci-fi and some dystopian and some fantasy and some, and of course the Solstice had the folklore in it. So, I mean, it shows this short story collection shows a pretty big range of your writing. Is there a particular one? Let's just say horror. Is there a particular genre that you aim for the most, or do these other ones just come out of nowhere?
That's a really good question. I guess. Oh gosh, that's a really, really good question. I think a lot of the time, like the story idea is just like just spurred by like some kind of stimulus. So, like for example, one of the dystopian ones in this, what's it called, Suppression is the one about the thing where they basically, it's like a sort of a future where they do like a DNA test.
Yeah.
And they find out if you have like a propensity towards crime, and if you do, then they just put like an inhibitor in your brain to stop you from
right.
An impulse.
I got a very big what was it?
Minority Report.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't have that in mind when I wrote it, but I'm sure like there were bits of that kind of floating around there. Right. And I thought like what would make it kind of more like play on the heartstrings more effectively would be just to make the age they do it like when you're a kid, basically. So like, you're like 12 years old and like you're going to get, just basically lobotomized with like a little device, just because maybe one day you're going to steal something or whatever, or break a window. So
just have a thought like that.
Exactly.
Have a thought of wondering how that would be, and then bam, you're in the system because they have you. It's scary.
Yeah, it is scary. I can see it happening. I mean, like if you read stuff like T.C. Parker's Salt Blood, you kind of read that and you go like, this is a dystopia, but is it that far-fetched, really?
Right.
Totally, especially with that one, the outrage on like social media and stuff, getting people upset. I can totally see something like that.
Absolutely. I can see a lot of people even like voting for it, like going like, yeah, absolutely on board with that.
Not even following through with any of it. I mean, it's just a crazy thought you might have had, and just that alone is going to get you locked up on this island for a while.
There you go. So. Yeah. I can see this stuff happening in real life, like, not too far down the line.
Well, stuff like that, I think, scarier than your monsters and stuff. Like some sort of like overall government control kind of thing would be terrifying. Yeah.
And I think we're all heading in that kind of direction.
Then he goes from that to Contaminated. And that one is still with me. And when I'm like cleaning the shower or something, and I like, is that mold? Is that?
Don't breathe in, Jay.
I start to get scared. I'm start touching my eyes and hiding and stuff. And once everyone reads this, they'll know what we're talking about.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, Contaminated is based around my actual flat, like because I live like, I'm really privileged because I live like about 150 meters from the ocean and on the 9th floor. So like my view is like beautiful ocean.
It's a great view.
Yeah, it's amazing. But like the problem with that is that in the winter, because like the building quality in Portugal is like pretty crap, because they just think like winter's only 8 weeks, we'll just survive with blankets on.
Really?
So it's like, yeah, it's terrible. And so like every winter, you get like black mold like around every window, around every door, and you just have to scrub it, and then 2 weeks later it's back again.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of getting frustrated with doing that, and just thought like, what if the mold became like sentient somehow?
That'd also be terrifying.
It really would. It really would.
Yeah.
For your winters there, does it get really cold?
Or
is it not too
drops
bad?
to about 0 Celsius overnight sometimes, but like sort of only like 4 or 5 days a year, really. But the thing is, because the houses are so bad, like often I'll go outside onto the balcony to get warm, which is insane. Like, because the house is like, it kind of keeps
warmer outside.
Yeah, it keeps the humidity in, and so you're just like in the house going like, I'm freezing to death. Let's go outside. Oh no, it's nice and warm, sunny. Good.
Kind of the opposite here. Like if we keep our air conditioner kind of low, and I'm in the basement, which is cooler to begin with, I go outside to warm up every now and then in the summertime. So
I think it's funny. It can be like wintertime and your house can be 60 degrees and you're like, oh, this feels so great. And then in the summertime, if it's 6 degrees, you're freezing.
Yeah.
But it's the same
So
temperature.
bizarre, isn't it?
It's such a weird thing.
Wearing
Totally,
sweatpants
totally.
and extra covers and stuff. Definitely.
So have you ever wanted to venture outside of horror and write anything else? Maybe horror adjacent or anything, or just stick with horror because that's sort of your bread and butter?
I've got half of a novella or novel, not sure which it's going to be, which is kind of horror comedy. And it's based in the office I worked in last before I became a teacher, where I was like really fed up of office work. And the premise is basically that like the main guy is very much based on me. And he accidentally, during a fire drill, kills the head of his department in a genuine accident. And then he's like, oh my God. And then he goes off on like sort of compassionate leave for a while to kind of like deal with the mental trauma of that happening. And while he's at home, he kind of thinks, what if I staged accidents to kill the entire management team? And it becomes increasingly sort of ridiculous as time goes on, because he sort of realizes that he's going to get caught.
Brilliant.
So he wants to kill them as quickly as possible. So yeah, there's one death which involves putting too much hot sauce in the finance manager's soup so that she has a rectal prolapse and dies. So
wow.
I feel like this has to come out at some point.
That sounds awesome.
I think Brad was hoping you'd say like a love story or something, but
oh yeah, I love romance.
The horror comedy will work just fine. Trust me. So.
You need a horror romance next.
I would love to read a horror romance. Actually, we were talking about
horror
this,
and comedy goes together really well, though. Those are good,
definitely,
because you're laughing and then you get scared, then you laugh and get scared. They play off each other really well.
So
exactly.
Is that the next novella we're gonna get from you?
I don't think so, because I've got a novel that's like already wrapped up in first draft form, which is like set in the Middle East with like some Middle Eastern like jinn and Middle Eastern folklore.
Cool. That's cool. So,
yeah, I've got to finish that off in the autumn. I've got people actually who like have kind of said like, you need to do this, Kev, or I'm going to come and beat you. So which is what I need to get it finished. So that's good.
I like jinns and genies and stuff. That's more cool folklore mythology from a different part of the world.
I don't think I've gotten
definitely
that yet. I have a couple of books, but I check out that part of it.
That's the thing. I think it's quite sort of underexploited in like Western horror phenomena, horror literature, and I really think it's a really ripe type of horror to be exploited. So, and I had an instance where like something happened. It wasn't to me, and I don't really believe it was a jinn, but my friend who was a friend of mine I had in Turkey, was convinced there was like possible jinn involvement with this weird thing. So that's kind of where the book kind of jumps off. That's a jumping off point for the book.
And they're a lot more evil than the blue genie in Aladdin.
Oh yeah.
They're not like that at all.
There are no Robin Williams jokes in my book at all.
No, but I mean, you could tie that into your horror comedy you're doing. That's another route you could take.
So did you do research on the jinn mythology and all that stuff, or
there was a really good podcast actually that came out last year, which was really interesting because it came out like as I was drafting the novel, called The Hidden Jinn. And like what was really good about it is that the lady who did it is this lady called Rabia Chowdhury, who's a doctor she's a PhD of law, and she does a lot of she does another podcast which is like trying to help people who've been wrongly convicted of like serious crimes, get them like what's the word, like acquitted in the USA.
Okay.
So she's like a very methodical person. So in this Jinn podcast, she kind of talks about like sort of stories, and then but also put lots and lots of references. So I was just like, yeah, get the notes and like look at this book and look at this article. So lots of really helpful stuff from that.
That's cool. I'm excited because, like you said, you don't really see much horror that involves that. That's almost feels more fantastical, more fantasy like than just straight up horror with genies and stuff.
I'm planning to drop more like actual really horrific horror on this one though, actually. Like there's some really nasty elements, like especially one particularly nasty element, but I can't spoiler that.
Don't spoil.
So I'm looking forward to it. I saw your comment on my video, by the way, so I'm looking forward to it. And we won't go back to below because I don't want to spoil anything for anybody. But I'm expecting some viciousness out of the next one.
Viciousness, exactly.
Yeah. Is that the name of it?
I haven't got a name. I can't think of a name. I'm so crap at thinking of titles. My God.
Just call it The Djinn. Is it? Real simple.
There's already one called that.
I'm sure there probably is a million
like
books called
500 books exactly. Yeah,
exactly.
I know there's one called like The Golem and the Djinn or something that I've seen fairly recently in the last couple of years that came out. But yeah, Djinn stories are cool. I like that.
What's Ross like down here? He wants more horrific.
More horrific. I want all the blood.
Yeah, I said to Ross recently, actually, in a conversation, it was something like, I mean, not everything has to be like sort of bloody viscera and death. Right. And he was like, are you sure?
Well, I mean, that's your style. Your style is more like a suspense horror. It's there, and you know it's there, and the reader's kind of just waiting for it to happen. You know, and we know it's going to happen, but we still can't prepare for it because there's always a twist or something that just kind of gets you. I don't see many of yours that's just really bloody and gory and relying on the jump scares and all that stuff. No. So it's a whole different approach. But you know, you will surprise me if you do one that's pretty gory and bloody sometime and just catch me off guard.
I think it's not going to be gory throughout, but there's going to be a couple of scenes that are really like fun.
Just where you go for it. Yeah, like Jay was saying, like this one's more like a creeping dread and claustrophobic isolation. And there's hints in the past like some gruesome things, but you don't really, as far as what I've read so far, I'm like page 80 or so, getting near the end. There's nothing super graphic or anything other than beef jerky stuff. I think
also, like with it being like a in sort of reported speech through the epistolary form, I think it kind of detaches you a little bit from the violence. So you kind of like read it in a more matter of fact kind of way. It becomes less sort of like stomach churning.
Right. I was getting a little bit of a like a scavenger hunt kind of thing, putting together pieces of a puzzle, trying to figure out what actually really happened. Yeah. And I enjoy, when a letter or something like that breaks up the story. It's just an added feature to it. So, and in my head, I'm starting to put together how that's connected with the rest of the story. So I actually like that stuff. So.
Cool.
Yeah, Nick says there's a book called The Djinn by Grant.
That's what I was thinking of. I'm going to check that out. I think I have it somewhere.
I don't think I've ever read anything by him before.
I don't think I've ever read anything by Grant Masterson either, which is weird because he's like, a bit of an old master and been around for a long time. Yeah,
in fact, I'm pretty sure Nick sent it to me. So it's in a box down here. So
Lewis is talking about the Djinns quite close to how a devil would be depicted, sort of. Yeah, like sort of magical powers and that kind of thing. So they are very similar in a way.
Yeah, but the Djinn like exist in loads of different classes. Like there's loads of different classes of Djinn. Like so there's like lots of different types. So yeah, there's quite a lot to explore, I think. So
I'm a big Dungeons and Dragons nerd, and in there there's like air genie or air djinns and earth djinns and fire and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, there's all kinds of different ones. It's not just you rub the lamp and a genie comes out. There's so much more to it.
I'm glad you said it this time, though. By the way,
that I love Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. I'm glad you said you're the nerd.
I am the nerd. Yeah, I have no qualms about confessing that I'm.
No, I mean, because
nerd is a badge you should wear with pride.
That's right.
You and Leslie were about to like just kick me out of the group yesterday.
Yeah, we had a big long message chat. It just went on about Dungeons and Dragons, and Jay's just like rolling his eyes, beat his head on the table. He had no clue what was going on.
Like I didn't know if I was laughing or crying because
they were tears of joy either way.
Yeah, right. So if somebody has discovered you for the first time, Kev, what should they start with?
Gosh. I mean, I want to say probably the balance, I suppose, because like I think that's the one that most people have had a really good reaction to. Although Paths is also a good option because like you can just like get like a little flavor of different types of story within the same book.
So how would you pitch the balance to someone to get them to read your stuff for the first time?
I'm
Say,
really
read
crap
my
at
book,
this.
damn it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so
Here,
crap
read
at this
this.
stuff.
Give me some money. I'll give you this book. Read this.
That's it. That's pretty much. Did you copy my notes?
Exactly. Yeah. I was seeing if we were going to match up or not. That's what it was.
I mean, I think I would just say, like, that it's like, the reimagining of a classic, like, sort of folkloric trope from Eastern Europe, like, changes what you know about witches, or challenges what you know about witches. So yeah, something like that. I don't know. I'm useless. If I was in marketing, I'd be fired on like before break time in the first morning.
Please read my books. That's all I
Exactly.
need. Just read it.
You have a couple of what are they? Short, sharp shocks.
Short, sharp
Yes.
shucks.
I
Yes.
can barely say that. What am I missing from was it Cinders?
Of
That's
a
the only
blind
one I
man
have
who
not
could see.
read. Okay.
Yeah.
That's the only one I have not read yet. So pitch that to me. Why am I going to
Well,
read this?
Cinders
tonight?
is kind of folkloric. It's kind of small town. And basically there's a guy who is a bit of an outsider because his wife died some years before, and his son was partially blinded in one eye in the same accident. And so he kind of has gone into his shell and is kind of away from the townspeople. And it was not long after his family moved there, so he doesn't really like engage with the society. And then his son in the first scene comes back to him, and he goes like he visits him in the middle of the night, and the guy like gets his cricket bat out. Cricket is a sport, so it's like the precursor to baseball, if you guys want to know. He gets his cricket bat out, and he's going to batter the person because he thinks it's a criminal breaking into his house like 3 a.m. and it's his son, and his son says like, I can see. And the dad's like, what? Like, how is this possible? And he says that he'd been down in the forest like doing this clearance thing for this rail network that's going to be installed in the area, and he touched this tree, had like a weird like sort of energy, fell down, and could suddenly see in this eye that he's been blinded in since he was a child. And then it kind of it turns out that people know more than they let on, and there's kind of this sort of a big secret that the outsider is kind of kept away from. So it's kind of all about that sort of small town, like close-knit group, and the outsider who's kind of in trouble.
I was just making sure I did have it because it's going to be my next quick read. I have it. It's good to go. So I had to finish out the whole Kev Harrison library. So
And you've done at least 2 or 3 of the short, sharp shocks, right?
Right.
Yeah, 2. Yeah, there's that one, and there's Curfew. I'm really excited actually because Curfew's coming out sometime this summer in paperback, and with my short, sharp shocks, because they were actually really quite short. I agreed with Dean from Domain that we would put like a bonus short story in the paperback edition, just so it's like worthwhile for people to buy a paperback if they want. And so in Cinders, there's a story which is called All My Bridges Burnt, which is based on folklore in something I read about.
You're the master of folklore. I'm telling you.
I told you it was
my thing. It's like it's about a dead man's curve where which is haunted in New Jersey. So it's like 2 brothers go on a little road trip, and one of them like has been watching ghost hunter videos, and he's like, I want to get this ghost and like video it, and obviously things go very wrong. And Curfew's coming out this summer, and it's going to have a story called Haljas, which has got some Estonian folklore, some little creepy like gnome people. It's not good. It's not fun.
Little gnome people. Curfew just got a whole eerie feeling from the get-go. The lady of the house and her rules that they have to be in by. I mean, that's what it is. Curfew. Just the way she's acting. I need to review that still, Brad.
I need to read them all. So
yeah.
Would you
that was actually? Cool. There's that relationship between the owner of the B&B and the maid, and that's based on something that really happened to me in a B&B in Portugal.
Really?
My missus, we went to like this wine town that's like really famous for wine, to drink wine, obviously. But we stayed in this like sort of old-fashioned bed and breakfast that had been there. It was like an old horse, what's the word, like a gatehouse kind of thing, where they like used to keep horses back in the day. It's been turned into a bed and breakfast. Very nice. And the lady who ran it was like this really sort of like overtly posh, like sort of strange woman, and very aloof. And the maid was like a million years old. She was like a relic. And she kind of spoke to us at breakfast. She was like, do you want tea or coffee? And we were like, yeah, coffee, blah, blah, blah. And then we said like that we were the only guests staying that night. So we said like, if you want to stop and chat, you can stop and chat. And she's like, no, the lady of the house wouldn't like it. And then she kind of looked at this picture, which was like the old lady when she was younger, the owner, and this guy. And she was like, it was different when the master was still alive. And she's like, I must be off. And then she like ran away, and we were like, what the
That's
hell
creepy.
was that?
Like reading it, the way my mind works, I was thinking this would be an awesome episode of Black Mirror or something like that. I don't know if you watch Black Mirror on Netflix.
Oh yes,
it'd be an awesome episode of something if they were making it, that one of the episodes for Black Mirror, because I was just picturing how it would play out and just making the May just so weird and that connection. So you got to go.
Did you have any more interactions with her at all after that?
I mean, literally every interaction followed very much the same pattern. And what was really weird actually was the day we were going to leave the B&B. We woke up on the last day, and I like felt really unwell. And it was really strange. It wasn't from the wine, guys. Wasn't from the wine. I was just like feeling like sort of like couldn't really breathe, and like I got this really pounding headache. And as soon as I went outside, I felt fine. So I felt like kind of almost attacked by the building. It was just so bizarre. Yeah, really, really uncomfortable.
What story is this again?
This is called Curfew. So it's a short, sharp shock. Yeah.
Is there any like different, I guess qualifications isn't really the right word, but like when you write those, or like do they have to be a certain page limit or word count, or does that not really matter as long as it's a short story?
Yeah, I think it can be. I mean, like for example, Ross Jeffrey did one recently, which was Milk Kisses and some other stories, and like basically that was like three sort of shorts, and then like I did 2 novelettes. So like Curfew's about like 30 something pages, so it's really short novelette actually, and Cinders is about like 55 pages. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's Warding considered then?
Warding's a novelette as well. It's about 12,000 words. Yeah.
But that was just a standalone you did. That wasn't for Short Sharp Shock or anything.
No, that was originally published in an anthology in 2017, which Steve Dillon's Things in the Well put out, and it was in the same anthology as a story by Clive Barker and a story by Ramsey Campbell, and I was like crying the happy tears when that got accepted. Nice. I was just like, oh my god, this is amazing. They're all readable still.
Yeah. Super. I want to bring this up just to make Brad uncomfortable, but you have a little bit of a musical background, correct?
Right. I'll leave, guys. See you later.
Some, the screaming metal.
Yeah, you were some metal bands, or was it a band or something? Well, I figured it because every now and then I'll see like a music reference in some of the short stories. I know there's a Metallica reference in a short story. So how'd you go from screaming metal to writing? I mean, writing books, I should say. I mean, of course, if you're in a band, you might be writing music or lyrics or whatever the case may be. But
well, yeah, I was always writing lyrics. I mean, I wrote about 80% of the lyrics in my first band, and probably about 90% of the lyrics in my second band. And I tended to write like lyrics with kind of a narrative focus anyway. So like, and some of it was again like folkloric. So like, there was a story, a song we had in my first band, which is called From the Chaos, and it was about like a guy on a battlefield who like takes on like sort of a spiritual like thing, lets a spiritual thing into him to like kill all the people on the battlefield on the enemy, but then he obviously realizes that his soul is forfeit and like this kind of stuff. So yeah, it was very much similar kind of thematic concerns.
You need to turn that into a story. That sounds cool.
Yeah. I thought about that the other day actually. I was thinking maybe I could do
so. Any kind of recordings of these performances floating around that we can somehow get?
I mean, there is like there's a band. The first band I was in is called Desolation, and we actually had a single we put out called Blind Sight, which is all one word, and that you can actually find on YouTube. The guitarist is like an absolute wizard, and you can also find a video which is really quite hilarious of my second band at an event called Dungeon Fest, and we're called Ruins of Amber, and the song is called Red Sky. And back then I had like long curly hair down to about here-ish.
That's what I was trying to get at, really. I was trying to see if you had the look for these metal bands. Yeah.
Just that when you have curly hair, when it starts to go grey, it becomes even more unwieldy. And like I literally would need double doors to enter anywhere if I had long hair now.
So did you play guitar as well, or did you just do the vocals?
I have no musical talent, so just lots of terrifying noises. Which, like, if you ever met my mother, you'd understand how I learned that I could make those terrifying noises.
Nice. Brad, you wanna have him do a reading, or you want to play a game? What do you want to do?
What do you want to do, Kev? You want to do a game first, or you want to do a reading?
Oh my god! Let's do the game first. Let's do the game.
Boy. Am I going against him like I did Ross on this? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll go against. Hopefully, these are ones that actually make sense for both of y'all. So we're gonna do the same game we played with Ross.
Very good. I've watched the Ross ones.
The
I'm
poop
hoping
bag.
to at least try and have as good a performance.
So Ross has got that soundbite now floating around the internet. Poop bag that he's never going to live down. This award-winning
That's gonna
author.
be-
It's all
that's
just
gonna
going to
be
come up.
Yeah,
Poop bag.
every promo, I'm gonna make sure to fit that in there somehow.
So we're going to play a game called What's It Called?
Brilliant.
What's it called?
That's just
It's so bad it's good, is what that is.
That's why I'm
so bad
laughing.
it's good.
I'm all about this.
All right, so let's share my screen here. We'll get these pictures pulled up. So I'm going to show, I think I've got 11 pictures. And Kev, you're going to tell us what these items would be called in America. And Jay is going to try to guess what they'd be called in the UK.
Oh, Christ on a bike.
and this is really going to be good for the podcast platforms because people can't see the picture.
Yeah, 'cause they can't see. So they're just going to be completely confused and have no idea
Yeah.
what's going on. So let's get these pictures pulled up here.
So American names. Okay.
Let's see, share. And there we go. All right, can you all see that?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
All right, so what would the thing this little baby has in his mouth, what is that called in America?
I think I know this one. I think it's called a pacifier.
That's correct. Jay, what's that called in the
Yes.
UK?
A poop bag? No.
No,
Is it I don't know, a binky?
Oh my God.
no, that's like a blanket, Jay. Come on, man.
It's
Come on, Jay. And I don't know if what I wrote down is actually what it's called or not, just what they said.
Should I give him the first letter? I'll give him the first letter. It's
Give
a
him first
D.
letter.
The first letter is
Okay.
D.
I did write it down
D?
right then. D is in dog. It's not called a dog, though.
No.
I
You got 10 seconds, Jay.
yeah, might as well just stop the clock now because I don't know.
It's called a dummy, correct? Is that what it's
Exactly correct.
Dummy?
Yes.
It's called a dummy.
Dummy. Yeah.
called? Here, baby, take the dummy.
Yeah. Put the dummy in the baby's mouth.
So
Sounds a bit
bizarre.
disturbing.
Okay.
No idea.
All right, so next one.
Here's your big dummy.
So what is this person eating here?
Yeah, I know this one. This one is cotton candy.
Correct.
How does it have a different name in the UK?
It really does.
This
Candy
blows
made
Jay's
out of
mind
cotton.
both times.
Yeah. Sugar on a stick.
Sugar on a stick.
It's not a bad guess. Not a bad guess.
It's called, what's it called, Kev?
It's called candy floss.
Candy floss
Floss. Yeah. So you're going to floss your teeth with sugar,
with the candy.
basically.
I don't understand that at all. I think it's because floss is the old word for the stuff you get off the sheep, isn't it? Like the stuff, like when you
Oh.
shear the sheep,
That
get the
makes
wool off
sense.
them. That's called floss, I think. Yeah,
I was thinking floss is for.
that as well.
For your teeth.
Oh, bloody hell.
So what is this person pumping into their car?
Okay. Is it? I think it's gasoline.
Gasoline. Jay, you should get this one. This is easy.
Petroleum.
Close.
Close enough. I think
because
close
BP
enough.
is British Petroleum, right?
It's petrol.
True. That's very true. It's petrol. Yeah.
Petrol.
Come on, I get a half a point or something.
Half a point. We'll give you half a point.
Defo. Yeah.
Are we keeping score?
Kev's already won, so it doesn't matter. So what is this called in America?
Oh, bloody hell. I've got absolutely no idea at all.
Jay, do you even know what it's called, Jay?
Maybe a board tack? Board tack. Let's go with that.
Close.
Is that what it is?
You got tack part.
I mean, it's a thumbtack.
Thumbtack.
Over here, or a pin, right?
Push pin or thumbtack.
Yeah. So
What do y'all call it, Kev? Or Jay, you guess. Do you know what it's called
Go
over
on,
there?
Jay. Go on, Jay.
No, but in grade school, we used to, when someone got up from their seat, we would put
Put it
one
in
of
their
those on their chair. They would fly. I hope my daughter's not watching this. So
She's what you bad
She's
influence.
like going to
Jay.
do that at
Bad
school on
influence.
Monday.
I don't know. I'm at a loss.
We call it, I think it's the drawing pin, isn't it? Drawing pin?
Drawing pins. What I wrote
Drawing
down. Yeah.
pin, yes.
It's weird that
I don't get it.
mundane things are so different.
Yeah, it's really bizarre.
All right. So what's this game called over here?
This is called Tic Tac Toe.
That's right. It's not called Tic Tac Toe over there, Jay.
Why not?
Because it's not. I don't know. Because we're weird. Because America does everything else different. We're the only ones that use
Three in a row.
inches and feet instead
It
of
is
three in a row.
Three. A poop
You're
Think
bag.
never
about the
gonna-
symbols. Think about the symbols.
You're never going to get this one, Jay.
X's and O's.
What would X's and O's be called over there?
What?
Exactly. That's the mystery here.
Hugs and kisses. I don't know.
What's it called, Kev?
It's called noughts and crosses. Do you know,
Noughts and
interestingly,
crosses.
what this
It's
is
called
called?
what?
Noughts and crosses, like nought as in 0, and then crosses like for the X. But do you know, in Portuguese, they call this jogo de galo, which means, direct translation, game of cock. But like but cockerel like the bird, but still game of cock. I just love this. Like when my students sometimes say, teacher, can we play game of cock? I'm like, guys, it's not that type of class.
Wow.
Get out of here.
How do they even get that name even from the bird? Like, how does that make sense for the game?
I think that in like sort of the Portuguese consciousness, they imagine that like when chickens are bored, they're sort of like scratching around in a pen. They're like, let's have a little game of this, shall we? Come on, just to pass the time.
Just picking and scratching. Okay.
Very strange.
Imagine being a kid going home and saying, we learned how to play this game today, and saying it to your parents.
Jesus.
All right, what are these called in America?
Mailboxes, I think.
Yeah.
Show off.
The UK players are so much better at this game, Jay, than you are.
Okay, I know.
It shows how self-centered Americans are.
I think it's also because we have so much media from the States, you know. I think that really helps us a lot.
Yeah.
We could probably do this state to state too.
Probably,
Maybe
yeah.
so. Yeah.
Especially like north, at least north and south.
Right.
Yeah.
Postal boxes. Is right.
Post box.
Post
Post
box.
box. Nice
Okay.
job. Well done. You got it. Yeah, good.
You
So I
take
got
your,
1.5
your-
points now.
take your package to the post.
Only because
What
I
is-
said that earlier. That's why.
I don't know how well it'll show up for you all. What is this using woman? What apparatus is she doing?
Oh Christ. I know what it is in English, British English, but I've got not a clue what it is in. No, I haven't got any idea at all.
Jay, what's she doing there?
She's jumping rope, right?
Jumping rope.
Ah.
What is that called over there?
Skipping rope.
Very good.
Skip
Well,
rope.
he's got
It
it.
is.
Got it. Yeah.
He
Nice.
just
they're
took
gonna come
that
back.
was a wild guess.
Well done.
Good job, Jay.
I was kind of proud of myself.
All right, the part of the car that's lifted up, what is that called in America?
Yes. Oh Christ, I do know this. Hood.
The hood.
Yes, I remember it.
Jay, you got this right last time. It was the boot for the trunk. What's the front part called?
Well, I didn't get it right last time. I said boot for the trunk. We didn't have the front.
Yeah, you got for Ross's game. You got it right because we did trunk and boot, and you got the boot right. So what is the front of the car called?
I don't know the front because we did the back.
It's mentioned. It's mentioned in below. It's mentioned in below because at one point the editor went, "What the hell is this?" And I was like, "It's this, Mr. Editor Man." He went, "All right, fair enough."
Oh,
It's similar to a boot. It starts with the same letter.
Mm,
It's another piece of clothing.
indeed.
Belt.
You wear it on your head.
Boot. Hat.
Starts with a B, Jay. A woman would wear it in like the 1800s. Yes.
Oh, well done, that man. Yes, well done. Very good. Very good.
You phoned a friend and used your lifeline.
We
for
actually
that
have
one.
a phrase in English
just
like which is.
FYI, I mean,
Go on.
Ross and Lewis Stevenson are both in the chat. Well, now he tells me.
Is he cheating?
No, now he tells me. Like, where was you on all the other? Where were you on all the other ones, Lewis?
The lid of the car. I love that one. That's great. But you know, like we have a phrase in English which is "on it like a car bonnet," which is. But I think that's what the cool kids say, so I can't say it. 'cause
That's
I'm
what the
not
cool kids say.
The cool kids.
So what is that?
Like
What is that on
fire.
the back of the? Yeah. What's this on the back of the car with the numbers and letters?
License plate.
License plate.
Yes.
Jay, you can probably get this one.
How's it not that?
It's not that.
Number plate. Numbers
Yeah,
and
there
letters.
you go.
Is it number? Is it number
Well
plate?
done.
Number
Yeah,
plate.
good. Even though it's numbers and letters, very strange.
Take that, Ross and Lewis in the chat. I don't need you now.
All right. What are and I'm not sure about this one. What is the device that they're cooking those hot dogs on? What's that
Oh
called?
Christ! In American English, I don't have a clue.
Do you all call them hot dogs as well?
Oh, the meat or the device?
The device.
The device. Oh Christ! No, the device. I'm lost. I'm afraid.
What were they doing there, Jay?
Well, that's a grill. It's a barbecue.
A grill.
Yeah. So hot dogs.
So what's a grill called in the UK?
A cooker, a fryer,
In America, we also have it in our oven.
a poop bag, a broiler. Right? A broiler?
I think so.
I think you already
Is that what
said
it's called?
I think you've already said it.
Is it a boiler?
No.
Is that what y'all call it?
Broiler,
No.
right?
Well, now I'm confused because I wrote
Barbecue.
down boiler. Is it a barbecue?
We call it a barbecue. Exactly. Yeah. Barbecue. Yeah.
Had a little help on that. But
I think that was our last one. Yeah, that was our last one. So
wow.
Kevin
Womp,
obviously
womp.
won. Kev won.
No, I
I
made a
think
good
it's
comeback.
marginal victory. I think towards
I
the
had
end.
a- I had a
was
good
bit
comeback,
clueless. Yeah,
okay?
exactly.
Yeah.
We really
exactly.
need like some kind of music at the end, like womp,
Womp,
womp, womp. I think we lost half the chat. They're like, "What?"
We just need a
the
big
hell
red
are we
X
doing?
every time you get one wrong.
Yeah.
We got like 37 comments now because people think that's funny. I don't know why.
Burning wieners. I like that. That's really good. There's a name for a splatterpunk novella if ever there was one.
George Foreman, a George Foreman girl.
The George Foreman grill. Do y'all have George Foreman grills over there, Kev?
We did used to have them. I don't think we have them anymore because like everyone's forgotten who he is. Like now.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, he's made us billions. He's
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, thanks for playing that goofy little game with us, Kev.
Thank you for the game. That was
fun.
bloody brilliant. Yeah, that's excellent.
Jay will win one of these games one day. He cheated to win last week
I did. Well, hey, I beat Leah Lindemann.
because you had all the answers.
You weren't supposed to tell. I mean,
That makes it even funnier, though.
yeah.
So do you want to go ahead and do your reading, Kev?
Yeah, let's get a reading on here.
Okay, so I'm going to do a little reading from below. This is the chapter 4. It's a short one. Basically what's happened is they've gone into the mine for the first time. They found some stuff, and then they've gone back to their trailers for the night. And during the night, there is, well, you'll see, something happens. So here we go. I apologize if I bugger this up. I have practiced several times, but, just, deeply unprofessional. Okay.
No pressure. Trust me.
I mean,
Okay.
you're on the most professional podcast, so you have to be very professional.
Professional as possible. We can edit this later, right?
It's live now, but we'll edit it later.
We're going to edit. What we'll do is just like black out your eyes so nobody knows it's really you doing it. Okay.
We'll just
That's
mute
fine,
you
that's
and then dub over it.
Yeah.
There we go.
Put some like weird monster voice. That'd be great. Okay, so chapter 4. Nick's eyes flicked open, the frame of the trailer rattling. He could hear the low, persistent rumbling of the earth beneath him, accompanied by the high pitch of crockery shaking in cupboards in the kitchenette. Outside, it was still pitch dark. The only light inside, the tiny blue pinprick of light from a notification on his phone. He reached out for it, swiping it to life. 3:37 a.m. He flicked away the notifications and turned on the torch, illuminating the confined space. Reaching for his clothes, he dressed quickly. As he stepped down from the trailer, 2 moths darted towards him, dancing in the beam from his phone. Still, the ground shook. He stared at the visible trembling of the huge trailer before his eyes darted up the hillside to the mine. What if the entrance has collapsed again? He scrambled up the hillside, the beam from his flashlight app flicking one way, then the other. As he reached the top, he shone it over to the entrance and felt relief as the portal stood open, a great mouth of all-consuming darkness. The earthquake ended, and the world was momentarily silent. Rocks shifted under moving soil below. He spun, torchlight scanning the hillside until it found the slender shape of Jess following in his footsteps. "Is the entrance okay?" she called out, one hand held up, protecting her from the light. "It's fine. The hydraulics held," Nick shouted back. Jess lowered her body to the ground, using her hands for balance as she made her way up the last few yards, then reached out a hand. Nick pulled her to the top, where she stood, regaining her breath. "Didn't you bring a light?" Jess shrugged. "I felt the ground rumbling and panicked. I just bolted up here. My night vision isn't too bad anyway." She walked past Nick and on towards the main entrance. "Bring the lights over, would you?" she said, beckoning. Nick followed, trying not to dazzle her. He shone the beam over the surface of the rocks surrounding the entrance. Everything was still. No additional rubble adorned the entryway. The dull steel of the first hydraulic supports reflected the torchlight dimly back at them. "That's a relief," Jess said, stepping backwards. "When I woke up, I thought..." A clanging sound pealed from the entrance, metal against metal. Distant, ever fainter echoes following the sound to their ears. Their eyes met. "What the fuck?" Jess's expression twisted into one of fear. "Did that come from inside?" Nick took a step into the mine. It sounded like it. He swept the cone of light in an arc from left to right. Nothing moved. It could have been debris, deeper in the clang, clang, More sounds, similar to the first, but this time the two were distinct, their echoes trailing behind. Like knockers, Nick said under his breath. He felt the presence of Jess close behind him. What did you say? She whispered. Knockers, he said again. Jess grasped his wrist firmly, directing the torchlight onto her face and casting shadows which highlighted her look of fear and annoyance. Care to enlighten me? He tugged back the torch. In Wales and some parts of the West Country, miners believe there are mythical creatures, knockers, who cause mischief in the mines. They're detectable by knocking, like what we just heard. Jess's hard expression remained. It's stupid folklore, Jess. From a scientific perspective, it's much more likely to be temperature or pressure differences causing metal, rock, or whatever to expand and contract. Relax. Clang, 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 clang. A single noise, followed by three more in quick succession. Jess stared into Nick's eyes. Metal? Expanding? She raised an eyebrow, as if waiting for him to react. Another sound. High-pitched, throaty, impossible to discern whether animal or human. Nick swallowed, his throat dry, then glanced back over his shoulder. Let's just go back to the trailers, call it a night, yeah? Nick angled the torch out over the steep hillside, then led the way down to the base. So there you go.
Bravo. I never would have gone in that mine ever again after that.
This is what lots of people said to me, like, after this stage, like, why pack up and go home, people?
Yeah,
Like,
I'm out after that. Peace out, guys. Y'all can keep your
Exactly.
TV show, and I don't care anymore.
absolutely.
I remember watching. It's been a while. It was just a weird show and like a documentary about mines, and they brought up knockers.
Mhm.
So when I was reading, I was reminiscing. I was like, I know about this. I felt a little educated.
It's really interesting, actually, because like Ross was researching something for one of his other books, and he actually like started talking about knockers, and I was like, would you imagine that that's actually in my forthcoming novella, or is it?
Dum bum bum.
Dun, dun, dun.
Lewis said he was reading along with you. That's funny.
Oh, that's amazing.
Oh, did he get? Yeah, he got it.
You should do audiobooks.
Yeah, I'm actually thinking about doing that for paths. And like if Silver Shamrock decide not to do this one as audio, because like Silver Shamrock only do some of their books as audio. They keep the rights for like 18 months, I think. It's like as an option. And then if they don't do it, they hand it over to you. And I'm thinking, because it's so expensive to do, I might just rent a studio in Lisbon and do them myself. Because why not? Sounds like fun.
Go for it.
You got a great reading voice for it.
Yeah.
Face for radio as well, which is always good.
That's why Jay was in radio for so long.
Yeah. That's why I fit in perfectly. Yeah. Who reads your stuff first? Who do you run your stuff by?
I often get the missus to give it a look. Like she read the version of the new novel, and like that was such an early version, and so she must have like infinite patience. It was such an early version that one of the chapters, like there's a bit in the middle where it says like, here's some bad weather stuff happens, which I haven't bothered to write yet, and she still like tolerates it. But then I have there's a guy called Dan Howarth who actually his press is the one that put out Paths Best Left Untrodden. So this Northern Republic here, this belongs to a guy called Dan Howarth. The other book from that press is his collection, which is called Dark Missives. It's bloody fantastic. And like, if you want the horrible stuff, Jay, like the stuff that makes you go, oh, he's not going to go there. Oh, he went there. Bloody hell. That he's your man.
I have limits too. I was just suggesting for yours to. Okay,
I think he will be testing those limits, like I would say. But anyway, so he's like a really good beta reader, and he's the kind of beta reader that's very much no bullshit. So like he'll say to me like, "This is really great," and he'll say, "This, no, like you need to rewrite this. It doesn't work." And I really appreciate that. It's really important.
Yeah, beta readers that actually give you your honest feedback and not are just yes men, because yes men don't help you at all.
Right.
So I think Chad Lutsky and stuff have talked about that before. Like if they just say yes, this is amazing, that doesn't help you out whatsoever.
Absolutely. Like, I need to know what the weaknesses are. Yeah, that's really important. But interestingly, with Below, like there was, I had two beta readers. It was a guy called David Watkins as well as the other beta reader who did a brilliant job too. And there was a bit of contention between them about whether like the thing that Jay wanted to happen should happen or not happen. And I just kind of was like, oh, I don't know.
you were on the fence. You were like wondering. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
So do you use the same group of beta readers often, or do you get different people for different pieces of work?
I mean, Dan and I like talk a lot, like, so we tend to beta read pretty much everything for each other, which is really good because I've got like a sort of a constant sort of like anchor that I know is going to be, that knows what I'm about and knows what my stuff is about. But then I also use a few others as well. another guy called Grant Longstaff, who is going to have something really brilliant out next year, actually, which is like got an old man, like a 85-year-old man as the protagonist. It's a horror book. It's going to be so great. It's from one of the Short Sharp Shocks next year, but I can't tell you more than that because it's illegal.
A secret. It's a secret.
It's a secret, exactly. I'll have to like cut my own tongue out or something. But yeah, he's really good, and a few other people. Like I know Stephanie Ellis, who did the 5 Turns the Wheel. She's offered to beta read my novel when it's done, so I will definitely be taking up on that to get a bit
I
of
read
fresh
her Silver Shamrock book. Bottled was really cool.
Oh, that was really good. Yeah, absolutely.
It's very
Does your
original.
Does your
Yeah,
wife ever
totally.
like read it and just kind of scoot it back to you, and and avoids eye contact with you for a while?
There was one story, I can't remember what story it was, and something really bad happens at the end. There's a really horrible ending, and she was like, I just why? Like,
I
what's
don't
wrong
even
with
know
you?"
you anymore, Kev.
Yeah, exactly. Why did
Sleeping
you
on the
do that
couch
to me?
tonight.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Wait, was it the internet questionable?
No, she didn't have any problems with that one.
Clear your browser history one.
No, not that one. I think it was like one where something bad happens to like a kid or something. Maybe I think it was Snap. Yeah, I think it was Snap.
Oh, I didn't think that was too bad.
Yeah.
Well, the ending, yeah.
Yeah, the end exactly. That was the bit that made it go.
I mean, it was a twist on the monster under your bed, except it wasn't under the bed. It was
Exactly.
somewhere else. But
It was
still.
inside furniture. It was like an IKEA
Yeah.
monster.
Yeah,
IKEA monster.
you never know.
Well,
what
speaking
you
of furniture, they're all transformative anyway. So yeah, you can totally see it transform into a
Exactly.
monster.
Exactly.
yeah.
What was it? Curtis Lawson. We said that his wife like doesn't read horror at all. She just hates all his stuff. I think it was him.
Was it Curtis? Maybe.
She read like the first few pages to Blackheart's Boy Choir. She's like, I hate this. I'm not going to read the rest of it.
Oh my god! I guess he knows he's on the right track at that point. Like,
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
like,
So
I'm doing the right thing.
are your family and friends pretty supportive of all your work then?
Yeah, actually, some of my friends have been really amazing. Like buying like paperbacks of my stuff. Like when I came over to the UK actually this year to work, went up to Birmingham where I used to live in the UK, which is like in the middle of the country. It's like the birthplace of Black Sabbath and Ozzy Osbourne and like all these kinds of like metal, because it's like really grim, dark, industrial sort of like place where they all live. And like loads of them were like, "Can you sign my books now?" And I was like, "Oh, it's so nice."
That's
Well,
pretty
I'm
cool.
taking a tour there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good place to visit. Like lots of good, like sort of craft beer places, lots of international food. 'Cause it's very much a melting pot. Like lots of Caribbean people and Asians and stuff. Yeah, it's really good place.
So aside from the ones you can't really talk about, how many other pieces of work do you have floating around right now? That's a process. Aside from the short, sharp, shocked, and you can't, and then in the novel.
Yeah, I've got like 2 short stories coming out in September,
Okay.
and one of them is in an anthology. There was a book that came out about 2 years ago called A Quiet Apocalypse. I don't know if you guys are aware of this. It's by a guy called Dave Jeffrey. Basically, it's like a dystopian future, like a sort of an apocalypse that happens, and it's like a pandemic. So like fun times right now. But the pandemic is a type of meningitis which basically kills 98% of the world's population and leaves about 99% of the ones that are alive deaf.
Okay.
And so like everything happens in silence, which is like really weird. And there's like a very small number of people who can hear, and they're kind of like a very prized commodity, so much so that people enslave them to like sort of protect them from threats and things because they can hear stuff, which is really messed up. And he's written these 3 novellas in that universe, and I think they're all absolutely brilliant, like bleak as fuck, like the kind of thing where you like go, like you just read the whole thing like waiting for him to like grab your heart and like then twist it around a little bit before he wrenches it out and feeds it to you while you're still alive. And there was a guy put together an anthology of stories in that universe. So I've written a story in that universe, which I'm really, really happy with. So that's coming out in September.
It's a very cool concept. I like that. It's like the
I
reverse
so
of the
recommend
Quiet
it.
Place movies, kind of.
Exactly. And it's from Domain Publishing. It's really cheap to pick up on Kindle. Like it's about £2 or something. So like,
What's
really,
it called again?
It's called A Quiet Apocalypse. And
Quiet
so recommend it. It's like it's all heart. It's like it's just so upsetting, but really, really well written, really brilliant. All 3 books I recommend. And yes, that's in that universe. And I've also got a story about a berserker in the Were Tales anthology that's coming out in September from Brigade's Gate Press. So I'm really excited about that. And there's some absolutely awesome authors in that. But after that, I've also got a story in the Hex Experiments, which is a charity anthology, I believe, that Ross Jeffrey is editing with Keith Anthony Baird, and it's about like it's a crossover of biotechnology and witchcraft or like occultism, And
Nice.
mine's set in a place called Okanevo, which is like a sort of a weird spiritualist place in Siberia, and involves my most unpleasant protagonist ever.
Speaking of Ross, when are we going to get that collaboration between you, Ross, and TC? You guys always talk about in your
oh my god,
in your live shows. You guys,
I would love it. This year has been like the most trying time for writing for me, like of my writing life so far, even though I've only been writing seriously for about 4 years. Just like pandemic stuff with education has not gone well. But I'm hoping that from September, like life is gonna like sort of get more onto an even keel and I'll be able to do much more.
awesome.
With Ross's brutality and then you and TC's like folklore and mythology mixed together, that'd be awesome.
And like also TC Parker's like way to like describe dead bodies in a way that's like so disgusting and so beautiful at the same time. And you're just like, I don't know how to feel about this.
It's like a brutal, vicious folklore.
Yes,
a new genre. Go for it.
I mean,
The
Ross
dead bodies.
Ross did pitch me an idea for a folkloric novel, and like if we can make it happen, I think people will go crazy for it. Because I mean, the idea when he said it to me, like I immediately had like 3 or 4 ideas that came off, and I was like, and we could do this, and he was like, yes, and then we were like, oh my god, one day.
That'd be
just
awesome.
Make it totally over the top. Throw everything at it. I mean, the book would be this fat. Okay, it just keep throwing stuff at it.
It's like 1,000 pages of madness.
Yeah, Stephen King ain't got nothing on you guys. Take weird turns. Yeah, take weird turns here, weird turns there. Just throw it in there. See if it sticks.
Have you ever co-written anything with anybody?
I haven't yet, no. And actually, a friend of mine came up with another idea for co-writing a novel about 2 years ago, and I was really on board. I kind of mapped out some chapters, and then his wife had a baby, and then he said, like, "Time out, Kev. I've got nappies to change." So,
Not poop bags, Jay. They're nappies.
Poop bags, exactly.
And the funny thing is, I would have already forgotten if you would have shown that one again. I would have forgotten.
Oh my god. So
they had
that's
a baby. What are those? They had one of those things, right?
One of those, like a baby.
Like a baby.
Yeah, like a baby.
So would Ross and TC, is that sort of your dream team if you were to do like a co-authored piece together?
Oh my god! I mean, they're people that like their stuff comes out, and I'm like, yeah.
His dream team, Brad, is Stephen King and Clive Barker, but
I'm sorry,
he's going to settle for Ross and TC.
Settle for Ross and TC.
I think I've actually sold like about 5 copies of Salt Blood since I've been in the UK. Like, I'm like pushing it like a drug. I like meet people like my friends that I haven't seen for a while, and they're like, "What are you reading lately?" And I'm like, "There's this book, right, that you really should read." And they're like, "I'm going to buy that now." And I'm like,
you open your trench coat really slow, and it's in the pocket. You pull it out.
Exactly. Put on my sunglasses, even though it's not even nearly sunny.
It's all gloomy and overcast. You put them on anyway.
Yeah, just look suspicious.
When you're in the writing mode and you're writing the story, like it could have been below when you're writing below, or your short story collection, whatever. How's the headspace? Are you totally 100% in that headspace to write that book, or are you able to get away from it every now and then, take a break from it, or if someone's talking to you while you're doing it, shut up, I'm doing something. No.
I mean, I try to stay focused when I'm working, and I think actually one reason that's one reason that I go quite often to cafes, like when such things are possible. I go to a cafe with a laptop, and it's really weird because like even cafes that have the internet connected, because obviously I need the internet to get my documents from OneDrive or whatever I'm using. I still just feel like when I'm in a cafe, I feel more obliged, I suppose, to like write, because I'm like, look, I'm here for an hour and a half, and this hour and a half is absolutely about writing and nothing else, and I'll just pound out like 1,000 words, 1,500 words, like quite comfortably. Whereas at home, I can much more easily get distracted by stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah. But also like when I'm writing longer form stuff, because I started off writing shorts much more, I often need to take a break. Like this novel I wrote, I actually wrote the first draft of the 2 stories I mentioned, like the one in the Quiet Apocalypse universe, which is called The Courier, and the one in the Weretales book about the Berserk. I wrote both of those during the time that I was drafting the novel, because I needed to take a break away from it just to get to come back fresh. Because otherwise I just find that I'm like wading through this mire of like, oh, I'm so tired of this story.
So do you sort of pants everything, or do you plot everything out, like have an idea of where everything's going, or you sort of make it up as you go along? You talking about getting sort of bogged down in the middle. Do you sort of know where you're going with it, or just kind of making it up as you go?
The balance was pantsed completely. I had like ideas that came along that I was like, sort of scribble some notes for later. But generally nowadays, I tend to like write milestones. So like I'll have like 5-6 milestones I want to hit, and then the way that I get from one place to another is kind of up to the process as it happens. So like if characters do something that I wasn't expecting, which I know sounds like mental, then I just
it's like Stephen King talks about all the time. Like he doesn't, he's just writing it down. He's just telling the story. He's not actually making it up.
Totally. Like the novel that I've got to do the second draft on and like sort of get ready for beta readers in September. Like there was a point in that where like I was having the two characters were having a conversation and one of them said something and I was like, that didn't happen. Now I have to go back and make that happen, you bastard. And it was really like that. It was really like that.
It's funny to hear that because people's endings change on a dime. And like Stephen King said it before too. He's like, I don't have an ending when I start. And then you have some that they write the ending first and work backwards. So
I find that such an interesting concept.
Yeah,
I
it's
love
just amazing to see two different worlds do that. So I like how you were just talking about going to the cafe and writing, because I would see stuff like that in TV shows and movies out in LA and Hollywood. The people were always there writing movie scripts. That's why they move out to Hollywood to try to make it bigger movies. I didn't know they really did it, but hearing you're doing it as far as books and novels, now we know that people really must do that.
Yeah. And I know quite a few people actually that find that they can focus much more like wholly, like have the whole focus, like 100% focus when they're in a place where like they just kind of go, this is my spot that I have to write in. So yeah, very interesting.
Now I could just picture like 10 other people on their laptops making no eye contact, no conversation. The waiter's coming over, refilling the coffee. Shh.
I do buy a coffee though. Sometimes I go into these places, I see people come in, put their laptop down, and start working, and then they come along and they're like, "Want a coffee?" They're
not
like,
buying anything. Yeah,
and I'm like, "Mate, come on, at least get a pastry." Like, what's wrong with you?
Right.
They're there for the free Wi-Fi is why they're there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, terrible behavior.
So, do you try to write every day, or hit a certain word count every day, or just you get done what you can get done?
Get done what I can get done. And I actually, in the past, I have kind of beaten myself up about this a little bit because I also find like exercise is really important to me, like mental health wise. And like there are some days where I only have time to do one or the other. And if it's a day when I need to run because like my like energy levels or my brain's getting a bit kind of out of sync, then I just have to kind of go like, look, you can't ride today. You've got to go for a run because otherwise you're going to be like out of your tree tomorrow. So yeah, it's kind of necessary sometimes.
So we were talking about, have you ever started at the end and worked your way backwards, or have you always just made your way through and then got to the ending?
With the balance, I think when I was about a quarter of the way through, I just saw the ending, the twist. If anyone hasn't read it that's watching, I won't mention what the twist is. But I had the twist and I was like, okay, I'm going to write that now. So I wrote that part when I'd done about 25% of the novel and then went back and wrote the rest.
And like Andreas says, and this happens a lot of people think Stephen King's endings aren't great. It's more about the journey, getting there, and then if the ending's not great, it's about getting there. Yeah,
I enjoy the journeys. Yeah, that's what I usually pick apart the most.
Because if the journey's not good, you're not going to get to the ending anyway.
That's
likely.
The thing. Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Because I think these days I'm much more likely to DNF books than when I was younger. I felt when I was younger I was kind of like, I've read 100 pages, so I may as well read the other 250.
Right.
Whereas now I'm like that. Yeah, I don't have time for that. Like, I've got 105 unread books on my Kindle. Like,
that's nothing. Come on.
No time to read a crap one.
105 is that all?
I found it really hard to DNF a book. Like, I've put in the time for these 50 pages. I need to see what happens now. Like, I don't know. It's a mental thing. Like, I'm not opposed to DNFing, but for me personally, I find it hard to DNF a book.
Yeah,
I try to trick myself with it. I don't officially say it's DNF. But I just never go back.
Coming back to it later. You put it to the side, and
in my head, I'm going to go back to it maybe 2 or 3 times before I get done. I never say I DNF it. Just might be 2 or 3 years down the line.
Yeah.
Like I recently listened to Choke. I listened to Choke by Chuck Palahniuk, and I did not like it at all. The only reason I stuck it out was because everyone was like, "The ending is amazing. It's going to blow your mind." And I got to the ending, and it was just like, "Oh, that was what happened." Okay.
I saw that on like 2 of your book hauls. I think it was like what I've been reading, and like the first month you were kind of like, well, it's not that great. The writing's okay, but the story's not great. But everyone keeps saying it's really good. Then the second one you were just like, really not enjoying this.
I was bored to death. I don't know. It just felt like nothing happened, and it was just like the same thing over and over again. So I stuck it out for that end that was supposed to be so good, and it didn't change my opinion at all of the book.
It's very sad.
Do you pay much attention to reviews, Goodreads, Amazon, all that stuff? I mean,
I do read the reviews still because I'm still like a baby writer. So and I really appreciate also like I think as well like this is personal. I don't think like this is the way everyone should think about it, but like I really do think like if someone's taken the time to review something that I've written, because I know it is like I do always review now because I'm writing, but I know certainly when I was not writing, I didn't always take that time. So if someone takes time, I feel like I'm going to give them do them the service of like reading it. And sometimes, there have been some things where like I've read things in reviews and I've thought, yeah, so that's fair comment actually. Like critical stuff, I've thought like, yeah, fair enough. I understand where that's coming from. So that can be useful as well. I find it really interesting actually that Curfew is like the most divisive thing that I've put out. Like and I knew this would be the case because when I got the beta readers to read it, like one of them was like, the ending, why didn't you expand more on the ending? And the other one was like, I love the way the ending is just like everything is batshit crazy and like what's actually happened, we don't really know. And I was like, I'm sticking with that because that's where I want it to be. I don't
think I've written a review for it yet, but I like the craziness. Plus, I mean, it's got to stay short to begin with, so you can't expand too much on it. But a lot of the reviewers were like, I really like this, and then the ending was too open. I'm like, yeah, all right, fair enough. I completely understand the perspective, but for me, it was like that was the point. So you don't get too pissy if you get a bad review, then? No. I really like the really bad reviews. Like one of my favorite review I've had so far was of Snap, and it was a review of like that anthology you mentioned earlier, the In Darkness Tonight, Creature of the Night. Yeah, and like this lady reviewed the book, and she wrote a little review for every story, which took a really lot of time. So well done for her. And like when she got to Snap, that's the one, that's the guy. Yeah, that's one. She wrote Snap 1 star, there is no story. And I was like, wow, brother, that's brilliant. I love that. That's great. I should probably go back and check what I gave that. Shoot, now that I think of it, because I did review all the stories in this. Oh man, I need to check that now.
So have you ever taken anything from a review, like a constructive criticism, and actually implemented it into your writing for something in the future? Or you say, piss off, y'all can think what you want to think.
I don't know if I've like implemented something directly as such, but like, but I kind of stay mindful of like the things that they mention, because often it's like more sort of like nuanced things, like sort of things about atmosphere or something like that. So I'll maybe think about that as well. So yeah, so possibly, but not things like change something specifically, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Now you got me looking to see what I gave Snap. So many pages to look at.
Yeah. So you said you've only been writing.
Go ahead, Brad.
You said you've only been writing professionally for what, 4 or 5 years now?
Yeah, since 2017. That was when I landed the story in that one that Warding, basically, that came into that anthology from Things in the Well, which is called Below the Stairs, Tales from the Cellar, and then. That year, actually, I went to celebrate New Year's Eve at the end of the year, and I'd submitted The Fourth Wall to Lost Films, and I was very much thinking, after like Lost Signals being like amazing, and like knowing that it would be hundreds of people submitting, I was like, probably got no chance, but you've got to try. You don't self-reject, right? And then like New Year's Eve, it was like 20 minutes to midnight, and I got an email saying like, I love this story. It's going to be in this anthology, and I was like, holy shit! So yeah, started like 2018, like thinking like this is actually like a really big deal. Like being in a book with Gemma Files and like,
oh yeah,
oh my god, and like Brian Evanson, I was just like.
So had you been writing consistently sort of before that, and just sort of start to put your stuff out there, or did you just kind of start throwing it out there? Or
2017 was the year that I did the Story Week challenge. That was the year that I wrote 39 stories, and some of them like total garbage and like have been incinerated.
No one will ever see this.
Exactly, like eviscerated from the universe. Like I've actually like found the bits of my memory that contain them and like sort of killed the brain cells. But like that was the year when I decided to take it seriously, because the Christmas before I was like or maybe the Christmas before that, maybe it was 2015 Christmas, I don't know. But yeah, one time I basically was alone in a flat in Lisbon and kind of questioning some of my life decisions. And there was a competition for horror stories or horror or dystopian. And I wrote a story set in Lisbon based around street art and like it kind of coming true, like being prophetic. And I submitted it to this competition thinking I had no chance. I won second prize, and I was like, oh, interesting. Maybe I can do this after all. So yeah, I started doing it seriously after that, really.
What was there, aside from that, was there a book you read at some point that made you realize, I can do this. I could do this. If this person's doing it, I could do this.
I don't think so. One thing that I did read a book by, Haruki Murakami.
Yeah.
I read a book by him in about 2010, and it's called Dance, 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 and it's the main character basically like finds that his life, he describes it as shoveling snow, because like whatever he does, like nothing ever changes. And I felt, and it kind of really spoke to me about the job I was doing previously, like as an office worker. I was just like, yeah, if I die, nothing will change. If I like just come to work and like read a book all day and drink coffee, nothing will change. And so I just decided to like make massive changes to my life, and that was kind of, I think that put me on the path to doing stuff that's more creative, because I started doing travel writing when I left the country and started living in different places. I started doing travel writing first of all, and that was really fun. But I always wanted to write fiction. I just wasn't sure I could.
So did you write? Yeah, I guess you didn't write as a teenager or anything like that. It was just more into your adult life you started to pursue it.
No, I did write when I was young. When I was a kid, I actually wrote when I was a kid a story that's the same as Stargate, and I'm telling you, it was before Stargate, guys. So I think
they stole your idea.
They came to my primary school when I was
Do you
like
have
10.
any proof for this?
I used to have, like, honestly, there was a picture of a guy at the end of the story that I drew, and my pictures are the worst ever, so it might be open to interpretation. I'm not sure it'd stand up in court. There was like the protagonist guy standing on a pyramid with like a big circle, swirly circle thing behind him, and I was like, well, I went to see Stargate at the cinema. I was like, I can't believe these guys have nicked my idea. Absolute bastards.
So you called yours Star Circle and they called theirs Stargate.
I think that's what it was, yeah. Or I called it like sort of Star Portal or something like this. Or like
Star Portal.
Stupid. And but yeah, it wasn't very good. I'm sure it was very bad actually. And then when I was at university, I wrote like a vampire novel that was like the most self-indulgent sort of teen angst fueled garbage like that you could ever imagine, and that has also been wiped from the
eviscerated.
Yeah.
What made you go the horror route specifically? Have you just always been drawn to horror, like horror movies and stuff, or you just like the darker side of life?
He's a very dark guy, screaming metal.
Screaming metal.
Come on.
Yeah, I just have a very dark disposition. I've always been a bit of a pessimist, so. I have a very dark disposition generally. I mean, when I was reading, I used to read a lot of mixed stuff, like some horror, some science fiction, some like literary fiction, whatever that is.
Yeah, I don't know really. That's so broad to really figure out what that is.
Isn't it? Yeah,
I just figured it's anything that doesn't fall in other genres.
Yeah, that's it. Or doesn't really have a plot. Like,
exactly.
Yeah, nothing really happens. Just people reflect on things.
Just life.
Yeah, people have toast.
Exactly.
That sounds like that book Ohio, Jay. Have you read that yet? Stephen, what's his name? Stephen, is it Stephen Berkeley or something like that? Maybe.
I don't even think I have it. I've seen it, but yeah.
It's just like four friends in a diner just recollecting about their lives is what it's about. I've heard it's really good though. So it's supposed to be really good.
If it's good dialogue, then I'll be all over it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were talking about
go ahead, Ray.
You were talking about Stephen King and Clive Barker earlier. Were those some of your influences? Were you reading influences?
Actually, when I was a kid, like I read the first horror book I read was The Rats by James Herbert when I was about 8 or 9, and that was like horrific, completely horrific. And then I read a few Stephen King novels. I read It. I read Salem's Lot. Salem's Lot was the first one that really made a big impression on me. I think it was just too much for the age when I read it, because I was like 11 or 12, and I just think some of it went over my head, and like just the size of it as well was quite daunting. So I think I kind of probably skipped bits. But Salem's Lot I read as a youngster and really was like, bloody hell, like this really has a big influence. I also used to read, actually, my dad used to be a subscriber to a magazine, which may mean that my dad's like crazy. I don't know, maybe yes. It was called The Unexplained. And like it was just like, UFOs, cryptids, like satanic cults in places like, like Wimbledon. And it was fascinating. Like I got really, I think I read every issue of that he had, and was like convinced that if I went down to Wimbledon Common, I would find satanic cults like summoning demons and stuff.
Now, cool. This is probably gonna be really ignorant. Is that Wimbledon where they play tennis, or is that something completely different?
Exactly. Yeah, it's really nearby. Yeah, like there's the tennis thing sort of separate from the Common, but the Common's like a big sort of like parkland on the edge of London. And there was like this. I remember reading this article. It still stays with me now. I was like 10 when I read it. It was like they were summoning the demon Asmodeus. And like someone found.
I know him from Dungeons and Dragons, of course, Jay. Asmodeus. I'm familiar with him.
Well, I was going to say I missed out on things like these magazines that I've heard people say they had when they were younger, and Goosebumps and all that stuff. I mean, I missed out on all that stuff for somehow. Kind of want to.
Did you read Goosebumps as a kid, Kev?
I'm too old for that, I'm afraid.
Too old.
Okay,
yeah,
so you're in my boat. Okay, yeah,
It came out
too
when
old.
I was like 13 already when Goosebumps started coming out, and it was like, pitched at kind of younger than that. So
right.
Mhm.
yeah, I did read like point horror as a kid, which talking earlier about like the cross section of horror and romance, that used to cover that off quite well. It's like babysitter is in love with the guy, and the guy's obviously the murderer. God damn it. That was also by like that R.L. Stein character. A lot of his books were in that series. Yeah,
He did a lot of different spin-offs from Goosebumps, but still, I wasn't a very big reader when I was younger, so there's so many things I've missed out on.
Alex, the bookkeeper, she has that whole big point horror collection behind her in her house. I think she's got like every point horror book. I've never read any of the point horror stuff.
I think I read sort of 60 or 70 of them. Like as a
so is it like Goosebumps, but like more for teenagers? Is that kind of
more
what
for teenagers? Exactly. It was kind of like, the cheerleaders are all getting killed or this kind of thing. We don't have cheerleaders in England, but I was familiar with the concept.
You really don't have cheerleaders in England? Okay.
No. I mean, what's the point? They'd have to wear like a coat because it's cold all the time.
Big old bubble jacket.
It's either raining or it's cold. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the uniforms aren't going to have different colors because everything's gray. So
Andreas has a question on here.
This is an interesting question. Dime novels or monthly series with some 70 page. I think like maybe in the past this stuff used to exist. I'm not
like Penny Dreadfuls.
We have that. Yeah, I'm not convinced we have that stuff nowadays. But certainly I think it was possibly something that existed in the past. Yeah.
I think she's talking about Alex as well. She has all the point horror books in the background.
Yeah, they were pretty great. Like, I mean, certainly of their time. Like, I think some of them now, if you read them now, you might be like, oh goodness, perhaps
you can't print this today.
Yeah, exactly. Blimey.
Were those an American thing, or were they a UK thing, or
they
just
were American? Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
Well, speaking of that, and as we start winding down here a little bit, now that you've published and you've written books and you publish books and people know about you, has it changed the way you look at yourself in any way?
That's a really deep question, Jay, for this
right.
kind of podcast.
Well, I just figure, let's go out on a high point and make them think, make his head explode a little bit. Yeah.
I don't think so.
Like as far as like, has anything come out in your writing that you realize you didn't have in you, that now you might have a different opinion about yourself or anything like that? I know it's totally loaded and wide, but
Kev's like, I'm a damn good writer.
That's definitely not
good enough.
What came out of it.
Good enough.
I think maybe one thing that I see in what I write, because I think a lot of the time we write stuff that is kind of like important to us without really having an idea that we're doing it until afterwards. Like, because Below is really about, like, I mean, I think personally anyway, like afterwards, I think Below is really about like heroes and the perspective of heroes, and like how heroes are never like as bulletproof as you think they are, but also that villains are never as bulletproof as like utterly ghastly as you think they are as well.
Okay.
So like there's kind of this like measure of like, like we always tend to exaggerate people. Like we see like the all dark or all the light in somebody, and it's kind of like inappropriate. And I think that is something that I have considered a lot over the last few years. And didn't really think about it when I was writing it, and then when I read it afterwards, I was like, "Yeah, this is totally what this is about, isn't it?" And also, like, I mean, things like
those
family
gray characters.
What's that, sorry?
It's those gray characters.
Yeah,
they're not good. They're not bad. They're in the middle.
That's it. Exactly. There's some kind of element of like both sides. Yeah, and I think as well, like, there's always family tension in Below, and no, sorry, in all my books, in all my writing, and well, very often anyway, and I think that's something that's very like apparent in my life. Like I've had quite a lot of family tension growing up and stuff. And it's really interesting having the perspective now of being like in a family, like through my missus, that is more like sort of together. And it's really, it's kind of nice. And it's also kind of weird as well, because I like, haven't really been in that situation for most of my life. So yeah, it's quite bizarre. So I've reflected on that quite a lot as well.
Okay. Any other writers in your family besides you?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. No.
So
I wanted to ask you one more question before we wrap up. Since you're pretty well traveled, you've been lots of different places. Is there a certain place in the world you would like to set a story in that you haven't done so already?
I don't. Do you know the thing that was like really driving me was until this point about that was writing something set in the Middle East, and now I've done that, I feel really, really happy about it, and I'm really, really excited to get that out in the world. And actually, the more I speak to people about it, the more people go like, "This is okay. I think this is going to be okay." Whereas I was a bit worried because it's like sort of people with an Islamic background, and like a lot of the stigma around that kind of like cultural identity in the world these days. I wondered if people might be like I can't identify with these characters, like pissed off with that story. But I actually think the more I speak to people about it, the more people are kind of like, yeah, I want to hear this. I want to see what this is about. So that's really encouraging. But I do actually want to set something longer form in Portugal at some point, because it's kind of my home, and I've got like the one story, the solstice there, and nothing else I've written has been there. So I want to do something with it. Yeah.
See, Brad, that question was deeper than my question. So
like the Jinn story sounds, I'm so on board for that. I'm totally down. I don't care if it's set in the Middle East or somewhere else. I'm so down for that one.
If they don't eat bacon, it's okay.
That's right. I'll let them slide on the not eating bacon. I'll eat their bacon for them, and
I'll eat the bacon for them as well. We'll share the bacon. That's fine. Favorite novels or stories take place in mines or uncharted cave systems? Ooh, interesting.
I don't really know if I've read too many.
I'm gonna say Below
books.
by Kev Harrison.
Yeah, there's this guy. This book right here is it's not too shabby.
I mean, I think The Descent is always a classic. I think also As Above, So Below, that film in the French, in the Paris.
I think I'm getting that confused.
You're in the catacombs.
Yeah.
I think I'm getting those two confused. So
The Descent's all the women that go spelunking, and the
in the cave
system below is like the underground catacombs and stuff.
There's that one scene where they walk into that chamber at the end, where there's the guy. Well, I don't know if it's a guy, like someone standing there looking into that hole, and like I've seen the film like 4 times maybe, or like watched it properly twice, and then like seen it while my missus has been watching it in the background, and like every time I see that scene, I just go, ugh. Like it just makes me feel like really uncomfortable. So I mean, if it's still scaring me on the 4th watch, then that's really impressive.
Yeah.
Someone said it earlier, I think, but it's a cheesy movie. My Bloody Valentine is a cheesy slasher, mining movie. It's pretty fun.
Yeah.
As far as like really
mining movie,
messing
I
with
don't
me.
think I've ever watched it.
Yeah, they had like an old one in the 80s, and then they redid it. It was in 3D. It was like one of the first 3D horror movies they did, and it was actually really decent 3D. He throws like the pickaxe at you at one point.
I think that's what I'm remembering.
I jumped like, oh yeah.
Oh my god, I would actually quite like to see that.
Yeah.
But The Descent bothers me. All the claustrophobic stuff, because I'm claustrophobic, and there's parts of that movie that just make me cringe up.
It's horrible, isn't it? Yeah. And like the conflict when they're climbing, I mean, that's just like, oh god, I can't imagine.
You could have just left the monsters and everything out of it. That still would have bothered me as a horror movie.
Totally. Yeah,
squeezing through. I can't squeeze through the little crevices and stuff. Absolutely not.
Yeah, no, me either. Ugh.
Do you have any real life phobias that you've written into a book, like claustrophobic or anything? Or
I only have one real life phobia, which I can't write into books really, because it's horses.
Interesting. You scared of horses?
Terrified, because a horse ate a jumper that I was wearing when I was 8 years old. Like just ate it off my person, just like completely, like wrenched it off. And I'd just given it food as well, so I felt particularly aggrieved.
Well, I mean, you could write like a man-eating horse or something. I mean, like,
man-eating horse novel. It could happen.
So without trying to spoil it, did thought blood bother you then?
Oh yeah, God, yeah, bloody hell, yeah, that monster. Didn't like that at all.
Oh, that's right. It's gonna be.
I'd
never heard of that monster before.
No, nor had I.
No, and I looked it up afterwards too.
Yeah, I had to go look it up, and of course they have it in D&D because everything's in D&D. It was like one of the older editions, but yeah, it's in one of the books.
I remember finding some pictures so I could put it in my video.
It's just grisly and nasty looking.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool
creature. I found of it as well. It's just like really bad.
Interesting. Horse phobia. Is there like? Do you know if there's a name for that, or is it just?
I guess it's got to be something hippo related, because like the word horse comes in Latin or in Greek. It's like hippo something.
I'm sure there is, because there's a name for every kind of phobia.
Exactly, like
just
beard phobia, at the end. Onophobia.
Yeah, because we had Sadie Hartman on, and she has the phobia, like holes like freak her out, like pinholes and like holes and stuff bother her.
Yeah, what's that called again?
I don't know. That's a very strange phobia in my opinion. I don't know why.
But it affects more people than you realize. Like I know several people who are affected by that.
I've never heard of that till she said it, honestly.
So I guess like an old telephone you're talking to with all the holes in the receiver, I guess that would bother her, I guess.
So yeah, it's hippophobia. There you go. Hippophobia. That is fear of horses. There you are.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I could see a good horror story coming from some kind of crazy horse thing though. Them going mad or something, like foaming at the mouth. Something.
I don't think I could do it. I think I'd get someone else to do it.
Eating jackets off little kids.
Oh my god.
Take a place on a ranch.
Yeah. out west. That's your splatter western, Kev. You need
There's
to go
no
to
way.
splatter
There's
western
no way. I'm
train
not getting involved with
with
that.
zombie horses. He said, "No, I'm not doing it."
He's
No
getting
chance.
pissed. He's
No,
never going to
staying
talk to
away.
us again about this.
I'll have to have trauma counselling for like
Yeah.
years.
He's going to call his doctor right now as soon as he gets off air with us. He's done.
These
He's
guys,
actually-
these
it's
are-
on speed dial.
These Americans are hateful.
Exactly. Well, I mean, we could do this all night, but I know we all have to get places. So, I mean, this has just been great. It's been fun. Kev,
gonna
Guys,
be
thanks
Kev's
so much for
bedtime.
having me on. I really appreciate
yeah,
it.
thank you
It's
so
not
much for
bedtime just
agreeing
yet.
to this.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. It's been such a pleasure.
I mean, you had to have known you were going to get into some shenanigans with us, but we appreciate
That's the
playing
whole
along.
point.
Yeah,
I love shenanigans.
exactly.
So before we leave, where can everybody find you, Kev?
So my website is called kevharrisonfiction.com. So all one word, not Kevin, just Kev, because only my mum calls me Kevin and only when I'm in trouble. And on Twitter, I'm Lisboeta Inglês, which is like Portuguese for an Englishman living in Lisbon. But if you go to my website, you can find the links from there. And check out below and let me know if you like it or not, whichever way, I don't mind.
Dude, just came out this week from Silver Shamrock.
This Tuesday.
Awesome.
What, 17th,
Keelan Patrick Burke cover.
17th? Definitely.
Yeah, amazing cover. Amazing.
Yeah. Again, everyone in the chat, thank you so much for joining us.
Cool.
Thanks for
stopping
the questions, guys. Yeah.
Everyone that's listening on a podcast platform right now, it's obviously recorded and you're listening to it later. Thanks so much for listening to us. For our special guest this week, Kev Harrison, hop over, buy all of his stuff. You'll thank me. Below came out this past week, so pick it up, and then you know what we're talking about throughout this conversation. Co-host Brad Proctor over this way. It's been another exciting episode of Paper Cuts. Until we meet again, everyone, stay safe. See ya.
All right, Queen
Bye-bye.
Wave.
Thank you so
Love you.
much.
Love you, Brad.
Jay.